Back again. What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's doing all right. Wednesday, March 3rd. It's been a rough week for some people in the stock market lately. I hope you guys have been on the better side of things. So let's wait a little bit. I'll probably wait about a minute to let a few more people kind of fall in here. Like I said, today's class, we're going to be going over real estate. I believe this is our fourth or fifth class together that we've been doing. So the style that I like to do is I started from the very beginning, and then we just kind of worked our way to where we're at now. So I always pick up where I left off at. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to pick up where we left off last week. And I tell you what, you guys, real estate stuff is going. So last time we had this class, I told you guys I was actively in a deal. So I'll kind of tell you guys a little bit what happened with that deal. So the numbers and everything was perfect. It was a great deal. I was going to be profiting on this deal right away. I was having problems with the lender. I'm trying to use a new lender, and there were some issues because where I'm at, I haven't used a lender where I'm currently at least not for investment properties. I did for personal, but not for investment properties. So there were some issues for whatever reason on their end to verify stuff. They took longer than usual. So what happened was I wasn't able to get my offer in on the property that I wanted in time. When I did get the offer in, they already accepted a different offer. So I had my agent go back to the drawing board. She already knows what my parameters are and things like that. And so she sent me a couple more deals. So I put in two more offers. I'm trying to get two fourplexes, or I'm trying to get one fourplex, but I put in two offers for two different fourplexes close to where I'm at. So yeah, hopefully it goes well. There's two that kind of meet the numbers for my numbers that I have. I have this algorithm that I came up with on my own that matches exactly what I want, what I'm looking for, what I need the rents to be, what I need if I get a loan, what I need the mortgage to be. So, you know, all this work that I've done that fits my, my algorithm for my numbers, and I give that to my agent. That's why I say it's good to build these relationships with these agents and these lenders. You know, tell them right away what it is that you're trying to do, so they won't waste your time by sending you stuff that doesn't even meet your parameters. So real estate is going fast. It's going very fast. So I highly recommend knowing your numbers, knowing what you can afford. Get your pre-approval letters out of the way because the real estate market is getting hot again. I've reached out to agents in different states. I've reached out to friends in different states. Everyone's saying the same thing. Rates are starting to go back up. Properties aren't lasting at all. Properties are lasting a day, a week. So if you want to be aggressive with this, and if you guys want to get, you know, properties under your belt, have all your ducks in order. So when it's time for you to put in your bid for your offer and things like that, you won't have any hiccups and miss opportunities, because missing this deal probably cost me passive about probably about 12 to 14,000 a year that I would have got passively from this property. So it's kind of a bummer. I mean, it's part of the game. You know, you can't get all those great properties all the time. Nothing I could have done. But I don't use that lender anymore because they essentially, you know, dropped the ball because they took longer than usual, longer than I'm used to at least. I don't know if it was because I've never worked with them before. I don't know what it was. I didn't even call to find out or reach back to the lender to figure out what the issue was. I just moved on to the next person. So now I have 3 different lenders that I'm working with, and I kind of told them the same thing. I'm working with other lenders. So it's really first come, first serve. I have the funds. I know what I'm looking for. If you guys want to fund these projects and, you know, I have history and things like that, it's on them. So, all right. Anyways, that's enough about that. Let's go ahead and dive into today's lesson. Let me share my screen with you guys first. All right. Boom. Close this up a little bit. All right. So for today's agenda, we're going to be talking about property managers. So in our previous classes, these are all the things that we've covered. We've kind of covered a lot in a short period of time. And I hope those of you that are taking this serious, I hope you guys have taken the homework assignments that I've given and you guys have started doing those things, because I gave those out for a reason. So you guys can learn and figure out how to find out what your numbers are, right? Because I can't give you guys what my numbers and what I expect, because our finances are going to be different. How we're going to leverage is going to be different. All those things are different. So I can't say, hey, this is what I do, and then you go do it and it's going to work for you. That's why I had those assignments, because I wanted you guys to figure out what numbers are going to work best for you in your current situation, right? Everyone's situation is going to be different. Real estate in your area is going to be different, you know, versus if you're on the West Coast, East Coast, up north, down south, Midwest, whatever it may be. So everyone's going to be different. So anyway, so previous classes, we talked about the benefits of real estate, right? The taxes, the appreciation, how you can leverage passive income, all that great stuff. Another thing that we covered is what expenses to expect with real estate, right? So if you get a loan, you're going to have your principal and your interest, that's your P&I. You're going to have your taxes, you're going to have your insurance, you're going to have utilities if they're not on your tenants, or if you have like outdoor lighting and things like that, or outdoor water, you got to cover that as a landlord, you know, maintenance, vacancies, all these other things, right? We talked about all that stuff. We also talked about how to figure out how much property you can afford, right? It doesn't make sense for you to go looking for property if you don't even know what your number is, right? What your ceiling is, what your max, and what the lease amount that you're willing to go. So I gave you guys all that stuff, and you guys can go back. All these are saved when we record these are all saved, and we put these out in the Well Squad. So you guys have access to these. So you can go back. If you've missed any previous classes, you can go back and check that stuff out. We also covered where to find a property that matches your needs, right? Because everyone's needs are going to be different. Some people are going to want to invest in real estate out of state. Some people, you know, want their personal home. Some people are looking, you know, for investment properties, whether it be a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, whatever it is. I showed you guys how to find a property that matches what you're looking for. Something else that we covered in the previous classes was how to find a real estate agent, right? What type of questions to ask them, what to expect from them, different things like that. We also covered what to expect from a home inspector. And last real estate class we talked about how to find a mortgage lender. So if you guys have any questions on any of that stuff, you guys can ask me at the end of this when we open up the Q&A, or you can go back and you can rewatch those videos and either do the homework or find information that you might have missed or whatever. Like I said, it's there for all you guys. I hope you guys take advantage of it. And today, like I said, we're gonna dive into property management. All right, so what is a property manager, right? So a property manager, they act as the middleman between you and your tenants. So property managers handle many things for you so you can handle other projects or just enjoy your day-to-day without the stress of getting a call that someone locked themselves out of their apartment or whatever it may be. Their duties consist of, but are not limited to, marketing your rental, managing tenants, collecting rent, responding to maintenance requests, and handling legal issues, right? So if you have to sue a tenant, you're not the one going to court. That's what your property manager is for. They can be employed by a company that rents your apartment, your house, for an exchange for a property management fee, right? These fees can range anywhere from 7% to 10% of your monthly rents. So for example, if you have a property and you collect $1,000 per month in rent, and you know, if your property manager charges you a 7 to 10% monthly fee, it's going to be $70 to $100, right? This isn't always the fee rate. Some companies you can work with, and you know, you can come up with a monthly payment that works for both parties. So I have, like I've told you guys many times before, I have multiple properties throughout the United States, and all of my property managers are different, right? They're not all the same. Just depending on the market that you're in, how big of the city you're in, and things like that. I have some properties that are right in the middle of the city. So that's typically going to be 10%, more of that 9% to 10%. And then I have some buildings that are kind of more rural a little bit, kind of out of the way, you know, maybe an hour or so outside of the city. And we don't charge any percentage of rent. We came up with a number that works for both parties, right? And I think it works out to be like 3%. And that's just because I've been with them for so long and they haven't increased as my rents have increased. So my rents have constantly increased, but my property management fee has stayed the same. And that comes with building that relationship, right? So I talk about this in the previous classes that I've given you guys. you're always looking to build relationships with these people, right? With your property managers, with your inspectors, with your lenders, because it's going to come back to help you out down the road, right? When you treat people well, and you're upfront and you tell people what you want and what you expect, and what you expect of them, it makes all this 100 times easier. So let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. So a lot of people want to know, do I need to hire a property manager, right? That's a very valid question, because depending on, hiring a property manager could be the difference in putting you in the green or putting you in the red. So what I mean by that is you could be profiting every month after, everything is taken care of, or you could be negative every month after you pay everything. So sometimes a property manager might be the difference, right? If you're paying 10% and you're collecting $1,000 in rent, and if you're if it's about $50, that's going to determine if you're getting the red or the green. If you're paying $100 to your property manager, that puts you $50 in the red, right? So sometimes people want to do it themselves. Sometimes people want to hire other people. Some people don't mind, if they're in the hole a little bit, because it frees up their time, right? It takes away all the stress of being a landlord. That's what your property manager is for. So anyways, do I need to hire a property manager? So do you have multiple properties to rent out, right? That would be, a first good question. If you have multiple properties, depending on how much you value your time, you might want to hire a property manager. Do property manager tasks seem like something that you don't want to do, right? Do you want to get phone calls in the middle of the night if people lock themselves out? Do you want to get phone calls in the middle of the day if someone's water heater went out, or if someone's plumbing is messed up, or if some of the appliances aren't working, right? So your property managers are working 24/7 for you. You shouldn't be getting any calls, anything like that. How far are your rental properties? Are they in the same city as you? Are they in the same state? Are they in the state next door? Are you on the West Coast and your properties are on the East Coast? Things like that, you might want to consider hiring a property manager, right? Because if you're on the West Coast or the East Coast or vice versa, and your property is on the different side, and if someone locks themselves out, who is going to let them in? You're going to have to pay, someone versus paying a property manager. Can you handle the hands-on management? So, it takes a lot when managing properties, because when you have vacancies, when you have, you got to do some advertising to get those vacancies filled. Do you know how to reach out to different plumbers, electricians, and things like that? Do you have these people in your Rolodex to call them if something happens, right? This is what property managers do. They deal with plumbers on a regular. They deal with electricians. They do all these things on a regular. So they have their squad, like I like to call it. They have their own squad of people to do this for you. So you don't have to be the one trying to hunt somebody down at 2 a.m. Someone's water heater went out. They might have kids and things like that need to take showers. So that's something that needs to be fixed very fast. So it's like, you got to keep that in mind if you want to handle those type of things or not. Does the cost of a property manager put you over your budget, right? That's what I was talking about earlier. Does it put you over? So that's part of calculating in your numbers. When I talked about, I believe week 1 or week 2, when we did this, I was telling you guys to calculate all these different numbers for your budget. Do you have contacts for maintenance issues? Like I just said, are you familiar with rents in the area, right? So if you think you want to be your property manager, you could be hurting yourself. And a good example of this, I was looking at this property in Seattle area. It was an apartment building. I believe it was 16 units. And the couple that was running it, it was a couple, they were running it. They were doing their own property management. And their rents it was 16 units, and each unit was under about 200 was the average. So they were missing out, 200 times 16, you do the math. That's how much money they were missing out on, because they didn't properly know what the actual rents were in the area. So that can come back to bite you very bad. You might charge too much. You might think what it is in the area, and you're not getting anybody to want to rent it because you're charging too much. Or you could be charging too less amount, and then you're missing out on profit in your own pocket. So that's another good reason why you should hire a property manager, because they should be, if they're a good property manager, they'll be familiar with the rents in your area. Do you know the law as a landlord for your state, for your city, for your county? Because all those laws are different, right? If you have any issues, I know a lot of people that have properties. I personally haven't had any issues, but I know friends, especially when COVID hit, a lot of people that were renting out their units weren't paying rent. So, you know, they had to know what they could do as a landlord, or, you know, someone just doesn't pay rent, or someone trashes your place, different things like that. Your property manager, they know the law because they deal with this on a regular. They're the ones who go to court. So when you have a property manager, if you have to kick somebody out or things like that, that's part of what you're paying your property manager for. That's part of that monthly fee. So most of the time, your property managers won't be doing too much but sending you a check. So when things do come up, that's kind of what they're getting paid for. So, you know, it's kind of seems like a little amount, but for the most part, out of the year, I typically don't have too many issues. I keep upkeep on my properties. So I typically don't have too many issues, but there are little things that you just can't control. But for the most part, my property managers don't do anything, but they vet the people very well that go into my properties, and they make sure I get paid on time. For the most part, they don't really have to do too much anything else. I make sure so much of that is taken care of on the front end. So that's another good point that I want to talk about. So just because you have a property manager, don't put full faith or full trust into them, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still your building. They have other properties that they manage, right? Obviously, you want them to treat you fair and do what you guys come up with in an agreement. But at the end of the day, it's still your property, right? So you need to be on top of them, making sure that they're on top of their game, if that makes sense. Let's go to the next slide. All right, where can I find a property manager? One thing that you can do is ask for referrals from friends, family, or your real estate agent, right? If you know any friends that are in real estate, or, you know, recently maybe closed a deal, or if you have any family members that you know that have property, or even your real estate agent is probably going to be your best go-to because they deal with property managers on a regular. And most property managers I have been recommended to me from my property managers. I think there's only maybe one or two. I mean, from my real estate agent, I'm sorry. So most real estate agents that I deal with, they refer me to property managers, and it usually works out. I'd say probably 9 times out of 10, it's worked out for me. Not necessarily saying it's going to work out for you, but so far it's worked out pretty well for me, because you have to think real estate agents can only refer, well, not can only, but should only be referring you to people who are going to be on top of their job, because that's going to come back to bite your agent. Because, you know, if you get a deal, and then if someone comes to you and hey, what agent did you use, what property manager did you use, you're going to say, hey, stay away from this person because they steered me to this person. I can't trust this person. They stole money from me, or whatever the scenario may be, right? So real estate agents they shouldn't refer you to people who aren't on top of their job. Number 2, check the state's real estate commission and the Better Business Bureau to make sure your potential property manager is licensed and they have no complaints against them. So that's something easy. That's just a little more extra research for you to do, just to make sure that, you know, prior investors didn't get money stolen from them from property managers, because property managers will have stolen money from people, right? So it's like they're dealing with money. You don't know necessarily what they got going on. So that's why it's always good to vet these property managers instead of just going with the first person that you see. Check Google for a list and numbers to start reaching out. And you can also look at reviews. So that's pretty simple right there. Just type in property managers and whatever your city is. If you're in Omaha, or if you're in Atlanta, or if you're in Houston or Denver or Detroit, or wherever you're at, right? Just Google property managers in Detroit, property managers here, and it's going to pull up a big list of different property managers. You can see some reviews already from people, and then it's going to give you their contact number, and then you can kind of start doing that vetting process to kind of get a lot of things out of the way, right? Don't just rely on a real estate agent. Don't just rely on your family or your friends. You have to be doing some work yourself, right? You have to be, if you want your real estate journey to be successful, you have to be full on hands-on, right? You can't try to put stuff off on other people and just expect them to do things how you want it to be done. You got to be some type of hands-on in the beginning of the process. And then once things get smooth and you start trusting people a little more, you can slowly scale back how involved you are with certain processes. Now I'm to a point to where I don't check in on really any of my property managers, because we have a relationship to where they know what I expect. And so they send me everything that I want, right? I want pictures of my properties. I want to see pictures of the outside. I want to see how the tenants are taking care of my properties and things like that. So they send me this stuff without me even asking. They know that if there's an issue, whether if it be a water heater go out or electricity go out, or, plumbing, they know that I want 3 to 4 different quotes from different companies. I don't want them just picking whoever they know or whoever they go with. I want them to reach out and do a little bit of work to make sure I'm getting the best rate, right? So this comes with you being hands-on, being involved. If you just like, hey, you do it, you figure it, let the property manager do it, they're just going to do whatever they feel best if you're not hands-on, right? If you don't tell them what you want or what you expect, they're just going to do whatever it is that they do. So that's up to you on how involved you want to get with that. Number 4. So make a list of a few companies that fit your needs. Number 5, compare the fees of each company. Everyone you call is going to be different. Read each company's property management agreement. This is important. This is the agreement that's going to state what the property manager, what their duties are going to be. And this is where, when you sit down with them, you might see something that you want them to do that they don't do. And so you say, hey, can we get this into the agreement to where you do this? Or they might have something in the agreement that you don't want them to do. And you say, hey, can you take this out of the agreement? So this is where that negotiation part comes in when you sign that agreement. This is where you tell them what you want, what you expect, and what you need. Because at the end of the day, they work for you, right? I've said this before, they work for you, but don't treat it like they work for you. You don't want to treat it like that. You want to treat it like a partnership, because if they're the one managing your buildings or whatever, you want to make sure that they have your best interest. So you want to make sure you're paying them always on time. You want to make sure you're just checking in, making sure everything is okay. You want to go a little bit above and beyond, because they are handling your property. You want them to handle it well. You don't want to have any issues. So me fully being involved with my properties and things like that have led to me having less vacancies, have led to me having less maintenance issues and things like that. Number 7, inspect your properties currently managed by the companies you're interested in, right? So when you figure out, when you're vetting these property managers, ask them what current properties do they manage. So you can go take a look, go drive to those properties and see, is there a bunch of trash outside? Does the trash can always get filled up? Are people always constantly just putting trash around the trash can? How is, the landscaping looking? How is the paint looking? Things like that. And then number 8, organize interviews with a few companies to see which ones fits best. So that's just kind of like 5 and 8 almost kind of go hand in hand. You want to know what fees are what, and then you also want to know who does what and what fits your needs the best, because everyone's not going to do what you want them to do. So just keep going until you find that person that's willing to do what you want. What questions should I ask? So this is a good one. So these are questions you're asking the property manager, obviously. So where do you advertise vacant properties? This one is going to be very important, because the name of the game is you don't want any vacancies, right? Vacancies happen. There's nothing, you can't really do nothing about it. But a good property manager is going to stay on top of it and make sure your vacancy rate is very low. I know they typically say add in 3 to 5% is a good number, but honestly, if you're hands-on and involved, that number should be 2% or lower, right? If your property manager is on top of their game, if they're keeping a list of numbers to call back when properties come available, all these different little strategies. Do you put any signs in front of the property, right? So think about this. How many times have you drove by an apartment complex or a home and curious, like, I wonder, what's the contact information to figure out, especially apartment buildings, what's the contact info? So I like my property managers to put a big sign up that has their property manager and have their phone number and their website if they have a website. So people are driving, they can just pull over, or they can take a quick picture and get the phone number and call them, right? That's very important. It helps you keep your vacancy rates very low as well. What type of advertising do you do? Do they advertise online? Is there a big college nearby? Do they create a callback list? So a callback list would be your property manager putting the listings out, and everyone that calls back and asks to inquire about that unit or whatever, they just take their information down. That's something that you can do yourself, or something that you can have your property manager do. And for some reason, not all property managers do this, and I don't know why. Seems like common sense thing, and it just will help you keep your vacancy rate down. So all my property managers, they have a list. They even send me the list because I want to see how many people they have, because I want them to constantly stay ahead of vacancies, right? So this is little simple stuff. It doesn't take much time to do. It's easy, it's low. It doesn't really cost you much to collect a callback list. How many vacancies does a property manager currently have? So if they have a very high vacancy rate, that might tell you that this company might not know what they're doing. There might be some things that they don't have control of, like, with coronavirus and everything. I know a lot of people don't really have too much control of that. but look deeper and see what the real issue is, right? So if a property management company has a lot of vacancies, that would be a red flag for me, and I would want to dig deeper and figure out what that cause is. What's the average length of time it takes to place a tenant, right? These are questions you want to know. Does it take them a month? Does it take them 2 months? Me personally, I don't like to work with anyone that takes longer than a month, because if you think about it, a month is a very long time to be running advertising and to get people into a unit, especially if the rents are good. So ask them how long it takes them. Me personally, I don't like to deal with anyone that takes longer than 30 days, because to me, I feel like that just means they're not really on their game. That might not necessarily be the case. And you can, like I said, you can change all this stuff to however it is you feel like what you want. But my standards are, I have high standards for everyone that I work with. And I know people have high standards for me as well. So yeah, you get what you put in. What kind of vacancies does the property manager have? For example, if you have a condo and the property manager only specializes in single family homes, they might not know how to target the right demographic to search for your tenants, right? So if you have a duplex or a fourplex, depending on, ask them, hey, are you used to dealing with, triplexes, or are you used to just dealing with condos, or, what is it that your specialty is? Because not every property manager is going to have the same specialty. So that's a question that you just want to ask them to get out the way. All right, does the property manager have a website? This might not sound like a big deal, but it actually is, and it helps the process a lot, right? So if they have a website, does the website look clean and legit? Because you have to think, is this a website that you would trust to apply for an apartment or to get that home? The second thing is, as a prospective tenant, is it easy to find the rental list? So go through it, ask them if they have a website, and then go through it. Does it seem like it's easy to navigate? Is it easy to apply for rentals and things like that, and see which rentals are actually available? As an owner, are you able to log in to view your account and statements, right? So the cool thing about online is that they can do direct deposits. You can see the tenants can put in any request that they have, or any type of issues that they're having. You as an owner should be able to see that stuff as well. You should be able to see that, hey, the tenant made the deposit, the tenants deposited their rent on the 1st. So why isn't the property manager depositing my money until the 5th or the 6th, right? So you want to be able to so you can be on top of everything. Are there any features that are tenant owner friendly? Can tenants pay rent and put in work orders, and can owners see the deposits and issues, right? Like I just said. And would you rent from this website? So these are some of the things that you want to look at. A website is not a deal breaker. A website, if a property manager does or doesn't have a website, that doesn't mean that it's not a good property manager. Some are just old school, and some are kind of up with time. So I actually have a few buildings that my property managers don't have websites. Old school. Whoever's on right now, can you mute your, whoever's in the car right now? Sounds like. So like I was saying, they don't have a website, and that's perfectly fine with me, because they deposit on time, all the issues, they go above and beyond to make sure I'm in the loop with everything. But then my property managers that do have a website, they're more hands off with me, and I'm more hands off with them, because I can just go and see, how often are issues coming up with tenants, and I can see when rents are deposited, and I can see how quickly they're depositing into my bank account, right? So those are things to take into consideration. Like I said, having a website is not a deal breaker. It doesn't mean a property manager is better than the other if they don't have one. This is just something that you want to take into consideration. All right, so what does the property manager contract look like? So who is your main contact, and what is their information, right? Make sure you're able to communicate with your property manager through various means, including phone and email. So most of my property managers, we just kind of email. We don't really need to text unless it's a quick emergency or something comes up, then they might call me or text me. But for the most part, it's all through email. Very simple, not complicated at all. How much do they charge for the services, right? Make sure the monthly fees as well as the leasing fee for placing a tenant are documented. Is the fee within the average for other managers in the area? So beware if the fees are too high or too low. This might be a sign that the manager is not experienced enough or too good to be it's too good to be true, right? That's why you want to reach out to multiple property managers. And honestly, I would say reach out to about 10. There's no need for people not to reach out to 10 or more property managers, because it doesn't cost you any money. it only takes about 10 to 20 minutes to talk to a property manager. So we're talking an hour of your time for something that, you might be building long time relationships with 10, 15, 20 plus years, right? So I would say an hour of your time to at least contact 10 property managers, hour, 2 hours of your time is nothing, right? Especially when you're looking at building something for 10, 15, 20 years down the road. Take that time, it's worth it. How many days notice does a property manager require to terminate the relationship? So if you're not satisfied with your property manager's service, it's important to be able to terminate their service within 30 to 60 days. So which will give you enough time to find a replacement. So I hope none of you have to come to this road, but sometimes it happens, but if you guys take these steps and do these things I'm telling you guys to do, I promise you it's going to take away so many headaches. Before I got into real estate, I used to read like all these blogs on Bigger Pocket, and I used to go to all these different websites, and I would see like all these horror stories. And then, so as I started talking to my real estate agent, remember I told you guys I went with her for an entire year before I got my first property. I was asking her a lot of questions, and she was recommending me go to all these different groups and all these different things, because I knew in my mind right away I wanted to have a property manager. So once I realized that they handle pretty much the day-to-day, I didn't want anything to do with it, right? I didn't want anyone calling me. I didn't want anyone knowing my name. I didn't want anything. I didn't want any of that. So if you do all these things, if you take all these steps and you take the time, hopefully you guys won't ever come to this road where you guys would need to replace your property manager, but it can happen. So make sure you know what it requires, because it could be a big fee. They could take you to court legally. And there's a lot of things that could really go wrong with this. So you want to always dot your I's, cross your T's, right? How are maintenance and repairs handled? For example, are repairs outsourced, and do they charge a percentage fee on top of the cost? And how much of a retainer does the property manager require for emergency repairs? Will they only call you if the repair costs more than the retainer? And are you okay with that? So let me give you guys an example. So all of my property managers, I tell them anything under $1,000, you guys go ahead and handle it. And when I say handle it, that you're paying, as the owner, you have to pay for all the costs. So don't think that your property managers pay for any of that cost, right? They're just the ones who, outsource, get the people to do the work, and then they typically send you the bill. So if you need any paint, if you need carpets done, whatever type of plumbing work, whatever you need done, they're going to make sure it gets handled, and then they're going to send you the bill for it. And for the most part, these plumbers and electricians or whatever, they know that if they're dealing with a property manager, they know that the property manager isn't going to take care of it. So they'll just send you the bill. Sometimes my property managers will take care of it. If it's anything under 500, they typically will pay. Anything over 500, they just kind of send me the bill for it. But anything under 1,000, they don't really necessarily need my okay. They already send me quotes. I tell them to go with the best quote, and they send me multiple quotes. So like I said, a lot of these things you will just get out of the way. They'll just be sending you receipts, or they'll say, hey, here are all the estimates. This is who we went with. This was the final cost. Here's the picture of the before. Here's the picture of the after. Boom, boom, boom. Right. So, but this only comes with you telling them what you want, right? I noticed that when I dealt with a different property, so when I went from the first property manager to the second property manager, I noticed that they didn't do things like the first property manager did. So that's why we sat down, and when we came up with our agreement, I liked what I had going with my first property manager. And so, they're like, okay, yeah, we can do that. They typically didn't do that, and people didn't request them do that before. So it doesn't hurt to ask. And like I said, that agreement is very important, because it will outline what exactly you want them to do, right? So they'll already have their agreement. So they'll give you an agreement of what they currently already do. You'll look over it. And then if you see something you want to take out, or if you see something you want to add, that's when you do it. All right, let's go to the next one. So boom, like I was saying, what does the contract look like? When should you expect to receive the tenant's rent each month? Is it direct deposit? Is that even an option? Or will you receive a check in the mail? Will the property managers be responsible for keeping the tenant's security deposit, or will you be in charge of that? How will the manager deal with a delinquent tenant? So what are their eviction proceedings? Ask the manager to describe their process in detail. These are all things these three things right here are probably going to be the three most important things, because you're dealing with your money, you're dealing with evictions. If, they have to go to court, whether if it's direct deposit, a check, that means, you might have to open a certain bank account. So let me kind of touch on this a little bit. So my property manager that does things old school, that doesn't have direct deposit, what they do is they take all the checks and they just deposit it into my bank account. So the area that I have my properties in, I don't have a bank for that area. So I had to open up a bank so they could deposit, because like I said, it's a small town, it's kind of out of the way. There wasn't any big popular, no Bank of America, no, even though I never would touch them anyways. No Wells Fargo, I would never touch them either, but no Chase, no nothing like that. There was nothing in that area. So I had to go with like a local credit union. But then I have properties that have direct deposit where all I had to do was just give them my checking and my routing number, right? So all that stuff is going to be different. And then so some of my properties, the property manager just holds on to the security deposit and they refund it back after everything happens. Sometimes some property managers put the security deposit into my account and I have it. And whenever they move out, once they do a walkthrough, whatever is owed back to the tenant, then I just get it mailed to them from my account. So that's something that's very important to know. And then how they deal with delinquencies, right? Are you going to charge a percentage of a late fee? How many times are you going to let someone be late? How long are you going to let someone be late? And then you need to figure out what the eviction proceedings are, right? I know it sounds bad. I know people have hard times. If you want to, I have give some of my tenants, I've let them just stay, a month, couple months free because I know we're in hard times. But at the end of the day, you're the one who's in charge for the mortgage, right? So it's like you can't be letting people have free rent, or you can't let people keep being late, because you're going to be the one that's going to you're going to be the one who gets burned in the end, because you're the one that's taking care of the mortgage, right? So it's like, work with your people. Do you have good tenants? Have they been long tenants, right? My tenants that I let have a few months free, they've been tenants for like 6+ years, right? So it's like they pay on time every time. Sometimes people just have rough times and they pay me a little bit more each month out of appreciation, right? So they pay me like $100 extra each month to catch up for what they missed. I didn't even ask them to do that. They just did that. You know what I mean? So it's like everything can't be about money. Sometimes people just have rough situations, so it's like being a landlord is a lot of responsibility, right? Because you're giving a place for people to live. So it's like I don't know the right wording, but it's, you want to take everything with a salt and grain, right? Everyone's situations are different. Sometimes people come through rough times. So if you're doing okay and, you've had tenants for a while, and if, you need to work something out with them, work something out, but you can't just have people living in your place with no intentions to pay, right? That doesn't do anyone any justice. So you need to know what those eviction proceedings are and how the property manager plans to handle dealing with that. So how much of a security deposit is required of the tenant? Do you require first month's rent and last month's rent, or whatever? So these are the things that you need to figure out that you want, and then you need to work this out with your property manager. Remember, they're already going to have their terms and how they do things, but that doesn't mean that that's how it has to be, right? Because in essence, they're working for you, and you want them to do what works best for you, right? Because it's your property, it's not theirs. And if you can't find someone that's not willing to do the things that you want, then you got to just keep searching until you find someone that's willing to do with you what you want. So if you wanted them to go above and beyond and do extra things, it might cost you a little more. So also take that into consideration as well, because you have to think, on a high end, you're paying 10%. On a low end, like me, I have somewhere I'm only paying 3%. So you can't really expect the moon from these property managers when you're not really paying them that much money, right? So you're paying them money, you're not paying them that much money. So that's why this contract stuff is very important. So there is no confusion at all. If there's something that's on there that you don't understand, ask them again, right? So you don't just jump into anything. Don't just jump into bed with anybody. You don't want to get the clap. So what is the monthly rent and how long are the lease terms? So, do you go by months? Does it go by years? Ask the manager how they came up with the proposed rent amount and ask for comparables, right? This is what good property managers should be doing. They should be running comparables all the time, because rents are constantly changing. Rents are going up, rents are going down. New construction, new builds are increasing rents if certain things are getting implemented in certain areas. Like for instance, there was in that town where I have a property that's very small, they put a solar plant about 20 minutes away, and the nearest town from there is only either the town where my properties are at or the next big town is about 40 minutes away. So it's kind of like in the middle of nowhere. So majority of those people that work on that plant at that solar plant live in the town that I'm in, and that actually end up increasing rents because that's more people there. And so things like that your property managers need to be aware of. What's going on in the area? Is there something going on that you're able to increase the rents? Also do your own research on Craigslist and other sites to see if the manager's rent is on par with some similar rentals in the area. If you have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, you know, that's this amount of square feet, and you go online and look and you see there's another 2-bedroom, 2-bath that's a couple blocks up the street, but they're renting for $150 more than what you're renting for. Well, you need to figure out what's going on. Why is theirs renting for $150 more than what yours is renting for? And this is what you talk to your property manager about. While you want a good price for your property, if the manager is charging too much, it will sit empty for a long time, right? That's something I was talking about earlier. If they're charging too much, nobody's going to rent there, because what people do, and we've all been in that situation before, we've went online, we knew what our price target was, and we kind of went around our prices. And then we, you know, if you guys are like me, you went with the best price in the decent area, right? So some people want that high end luxury, whatever. If you can afford it, good on you. But me at the time when I was going for apartments, I pretty much just needed somewhere to lay my head. So I had to get what was the cheapest at this time, a long time ago. So yeah, that's things that people look at. How are late rents handled? So is the process clearly written, and will a tenant understand the consequences? So this is something that's very important and that your tenants really need to understand, because a lot of times, like I said, depending on where you rent at, depending on the type of tenants you have, sometimes they might just be late regularly. So, you know, it's like you might have those tenants that pay you all the time. Rent might always be due on the 1st, but for whatever reason, they always pay you on the 4th. And that's typically the day before a lot of late fees, because, you know, I give 4 days before I charge any late fees. So late fees don't get charged until the 5th. So there are some tenants that might just pay on the 3rd, or they might pay on the 4th. But is it clear to them that, hey, you know, if you're late, there's going to be, you know, a $50 fee or a $25 fee every day you're late, or whatever it is that you come up with, or, you know, that you want to do. And this is stuff that you need to start thinking about. You got to start switching your mind to landlord mode, because those of you that are taking this class, you know, you guys want to get into real estate. You want to own your own property. You want to get, you know, a duplex, triplex, fourplex. You want to get into commercial real estate, whatever it is. You need to start thinking about, you know, what you want to charge, because it's all up to you. It's not up to the property manager. It's whatever you want to do. Make sure the tenant's responsibilities are clearly outlined. So for example, who's responsible for keeping the lawn maintained? Is it the tenant or the owner? So if you're in an apartment building, obviously you can't, if you have an apartment building, you can't hold any of the tenants liable. So you as the owner are in charge of getting the lawn taken care of. But if you have a single family home, like a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom home, and you have a front yard and a backyard, then you need to put that, you need to make sure that your property manager puts that in the contract, that the tenant is in charge of that. And if they don't handle it, then there's going to be a fee, right? So there's a lot of different things that you can do. You can tell people, hey, I have someone that will come do it. I'll just charge you this amount more for your month, for your rent every month, but that money is just to get the lawn taken care of, so you don't have to worry about doing it. So there's all different types of ways you can get creative, right? What are the consequences of breaking the lease? So, you know, things happen, people leave, whatever. What type of consequences? Are you going to keep the first and the last month's security deposit? Different things like that. So you need to figure out what you want for yours. Who will the tenant call with questions? Sometimes property managers have different contacts for leasing questions versus maintenance issues. So if you have an on-site maintenance guy, he might have a cell phone number, or, you know, you need to figure out who handles what. So if you have a property manager and you have an on-site maintenance person, you need to figure out who gets called for what. So that way there's no confusion for anything. All right. So I've been going, you guys. So, all right, in closing, so this is what we covered today. So what is a property manager? Should I hire a property manager? Where to find property managers? What questions should I ask a property manager? Does it matter if they have a website or not? And what to expect from a property manager contract? So we're going to open this up now for the Q&A time. Like I said, anything that you guys have questions about, if it's something that I don't know, I'll make sure that we get the right answer for you guys. Here's all my social media. If you guys want to follow me or hit me up on Instagram, it's NoTimeZone with 2 O's. If you guys want to hit me up or follow me on Twitter, it's NoTimeZone_. I have some courses out. I have a FHA course that's pretty much how to utilize FHA into getting into real estate. It's one of the methods that I've used. I also have a travel guide. I've been to over 100 countries. Teach you guys how to travel for cheap, internationally, domestic. It works no matter where you're located at. And then I also have a reselling guide on pretty much how I got, reselling kind of got me in the position that I'm in today, because that's kind of where I started as a side hustle. And, a lot of people are doing it full time now. And then so everyone that's in the Well Squad, if you want any of my Gumroad courses, you guys get 30% off. Just use code Well Squad when you check out. And that's that. So let's open it up to questions. You guys go ahead and start firing them away.
How many courses have you done on here for the retail, like this type of stuff? Because I'm just getting into it, and this is my first class. So is there 4 or 5 in the Wealth Squad, or how many have you done before?
I believe this is number 4 or 5. So if you go back, we post all these in the university. You can go click the links. So any ones that you missed, just look for the real estate ones that I've done. There were other real estate ones, but they were done by different people. So they were talking about different things.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, no problem.
Which properties do you suggest that I wouldn't say you require a property manager, but I almost require?
Honestly, me personally, every property that I have a property manager. Whether if it's a single family home, a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, I have property managers because if you guys follow me online, you guys see I'm always doing so many different things, right? I'm constantly looking for real estate deals, different stuff. So it just helps. It helps free up my time by having property managers. So paying that fee, whether it be 10% or whatever it is, it's worth freeing up my time. So I personally highly recommend it to everyone. But like I said, you just have to do your numbers. If it fits with your numbers, then definitely do it.
Okay, I guess if I was starting out, let's say I had a fourplex and I'm living in one, I would probably not need a property manager, or would you still suggest I get one?
I did. So my very first building that I got was FHA. FHA requires you to live in one unit, and I rented out the other 3, but I didn't want the tenants to know that I was the owner, right? And then I also just didn't want to deal with, I travel a lot, I'm always on, so I didn't want people constantly hitting me up, so it was a no-brainer. I had the day before I moved into my fourplex, owner occupying one, I had already interviewed 8 different property managers, and I had one already ready to go. Moved in.
And then you mentioned flipping before. I flip on eBay as well, but I guess what was a good sourcing tool that you used?
Getting out there and getting stuff. Get out there, get stuff. The more stuff you list, the more eyes you'll have on things. So you have to understand. So people that are listening, what the hell are they talking about? So he's talking about reselling items that you find in stores or online like that. So you have to look at it like this. People are interested in so many different things. If it's in the stores, that means people are already interested in it. So that's the good thing about reselling is you don't have to find the audience finds you. So the more items that you have, the more listings that you have, the more eyes that you're going to start having on you. So I just always recommend people just keep getting stuff, keep listing stuff. And then, like I said, I talk about the return policy to bring stuff back that doesn't sell within that time frame.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yep.
Now let's just say if you want to start out for your business and you want to get into rentals, but you have no business credit and you have maybe an IRA account. What route would you suggest as far as being able to finance your first rental?
It just depends on what your money situation is, how much money you have. Do you have anyone that you could reach out to loan you the money until you can tell them, hey, I'm looking to get a fourplex. These are the rents that it brings in. Here's what everything is going to cost me every month. I'm going to be left over with $200 every month. If you loan me this amount, I can give you back, $100 until we're square. Or you can go, the FHA route, which requires you to put 3.5% down, depending on, what your credit is looking like. If I don't know if you're military or not, you can go a VA route. So you have many options that you can go. It just depends on what works best for your situation.
Okay. So you can use the FHA for using it under a business title, correct?
No. So if you want to go the business route, what I recommend people do is wait until after that year. So if you go FHA or VA, you can't technically use those as an investment property, which is strange because after a year they allow you to move out. And obviously, if you're renting all 4 units and you're not living in it, then obviously that's an investment, right? But whatever, that's just one of the rules. So live in 1 unit for a year, keep it under your name. By year 1 in 1 day, transfer it over into a LLC, S corp, or whatever you're trying to do.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
You just said to transfer your rental property over to your LLC. Isn't that kind of hard?
No, it's not hard at all. Nope. You just take it to whatever title company you use when you close. You can use them to go back and do it. You can do it at you can have a lawyer do it. It's not hard to do at all.
So I was just thinking about that while you were talking. Like I have a property that I want to get, a duplex.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about putting that in my company's name. But if I do a birth and I refinance it, do you think the banks will be receptive of me putting it in the LLC?
I haven't tried to do that, so I don't even want to give you wrong information. But everything that I've done, I've never had any issues. Like when I've gone to refinance, I've refinanced properties that I originally got in using FHA or a VA. After my year mark, I transferred it over into one of my LLCs, and then when I went to refinance, they looked at that and didn't have any issues at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I stumbled upon an article a few days ago. It was mentioned Chase had like a home buyer grant program
Uh-huh.
for I guess it's for Black communities or I wasn't exactly sure. But my question is, can you? It's for qualified home buyers in predominantly Black neighborhoods. That's what it was. And my question is, like, say if you went the FHA route, would you be able to? I guess those have typically lower down payments, right?
Were you the one did you send me this on Instagram?
I did.
You know what? It's funny. I was looking at my messages before I started and I want to look more into that. Honestly, I don't know about that program. There are FHA programs out there for first time home buyers. You talk about that in this is not a plug or anything like that, but I kind of went more in depth in my FHA course about that. But there are programs out there for first time home buyers. And then what you sent me, I need to look a little bit more into it. I haven't heard anything about that. So I don't know how accurate that is or not. So I don't want to give you any wrong information on that. But I'm going to start. I've seen that before I got on. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into that and see what that's all about.
Right. Because I was thinking, like, if will they increase it to $5,000?
Right. Yeah.
So I was saying that could go a long way towards a down payment.
Yeah, I don't even know, but look into that, man. And if you find some more information, send me the link. But I was gonna get back to you, but I was trying to get ready for this class. But I definitely seen the message that you sent me, and I'm gonna look a little more into it. That sounds pretty cool. And that would be pretty. If that's accurate, that sounds like a pretty dope program.
Right. All right. Thanks so much.
All right, no problem.
Would you recommend putting all your individual properties in the LLCs?
Yeah, put them all in their own separate LLC, right? And I tell people to do this because think about this. If you have, let's say you have 2 duplexes under one LLC, and let's say, God forbid, someone slips and hurts themselves at one property and they sue you and they sue that property, right? So they're not suing you, they're suing the LLC. So now if you have both properties under one LLC, now they can come after both properties versus just coming after one. So that's why I always recommend people to get separate LLCs for each property. it just cut out. You there? All right, I guess I'll answer this question. All right, you guys got any other questions for me?
I have a question.
Sure.
So, could I purchase a home or two homes actually? Could I purchase one under a FHA loan and a conventional loan? I know that I would have to probably live in the FHA loan house for a year, but could I do both in 1 year?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have the funding and if your debt to income is less than some lenders are saying 50% now. So it used to be 43%. But if your debt to income ratio is below 50 or 43%, you won't have any issues. You're just going to have to show proof that you have the income to be able to handle your current property and then the new one as well.
So one more question I have, because I was in the process of looking to purchase a home to live in, and my lender told me that I would be better off getting a conventional loan based off my income. So he didn't even cover the idea of a FHA loan. But because I'm looking to also move into one to live in and also have a rental property, I was trying to see how I could do both.
Yeah, so I would just say do the FHA route first, get that 1 year knocked out. If you want to do them both at the same time, I would say get the FHA stuff out of the way first, and then you can do the conventional afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Hello, I got a question.
Hey.
Yep. Hey. So, did you talk about the FHA loans like earlier in a different class?
No, I didn't. So I didn't talk about, when I talked about the lending, I kind of brought it up, but I didn't touch more in depth about FHA. So pretty much what I talked about was just the basics of how to get somebody into real estate. I didn't go over like creative ways of using like FHA, using VA, using conventional or different routes. I didn't talk about any of that. But
Okay.
you have some questions about FHA?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's my first time I'm hearing about FHA, so I want to learn more about it. So
long story short, FHA. So the credit requirements have changed. So you would have to just reach out to like a lender just to see what their credit score requirements are. But I believe if your score, I think it's 580 or maybe a little higher. So if you have a 580 or better, you'll qualify to get. You can use the FHA and only put 3.5% down. So if you find $100,000 property, they only require you to put $3,500 down. So each 100,000, you just add 3,500 to it. So that's a good way for people to get into real estate. So the only caveat to using the FHA is that you're going to pay something that's called a PMI, which is a private mortgage insurance. So basically, that's money that doesn't go towards anything. It doesn't go towards your interest. It doesn't go towards your principal. You don't get that money back. That goes to the FHA. It's pretty much you paying them a small amount for them giving you the loan. You just pay it every month. So the numbers, it varies based on how much your loan is, but it's not so much to where it's going to hurt you. You know, it's going to be probably anywhere from $50 to maybe $100, $150, just depending on how much of a loan you get. And then you also have to owner occupy for at least 1 year before you can either rent it out or, move to do whatever. That's just the short, it's more in depth than that, but that's just kind of the short version of it.
Okay. And you talk about it more in your course?
Yeah. So I have a course that's strictly talking about FHA, all the requirements, I kind of go over, in the course, I talk about if you use FHA and I kind of break down versus if you were to go conventional, and I talk about, working on getting your credit to certain points to certain scores, because obviously the higher your credit score is, the lower your interest and things like that will be. And then also, I talk about, how much money you need to put down based on what your credit is. So people that don't have, good credit can also use FHA, but they just have to put 10% down versus having to only put 3.5% down.
And this is my last question. So how would you calculate how much you would need to have starting off before you start going into getting your first property? How do you calculate how much you would need?
If if you go back to the very first course or the very first class that I did on here, I put a link to a calculator for you to calculate how much home you can afford.
Okay.
So go find that and then go to the link. It's towards the end of the very first class. I talk about all that, how you can find how much house you can afford, how you can put in the numbers to kind of get a good idea of what your principal and interest, your insurance and all that stuff is.
Okay, perfect. All right, appreciate it.
No problem. Good questions.
Hey, I had a quick question about the FHA. I know that there's a requirement that you have to stay there for a year, but how do they verify that you're actually doing that? Like, couldn't you just like technically say that you're staying there, but still rent it to somebody else?
A lot of people ask me this, and I don't want to encourage, right? I don't want to encourage anybody to break the rules, you know what I mean? So I've personally no one has ever came and verified to make sure I live there, right? I do know that they do have people that might go check, and if they check for whatever reason or something happens and they find out that you've been renting it and not living in it, they transfer the whole loan onto you right then and there. So
that's the only consequence. You just take responsibility for the loan.
What's that?
That's the only consequence, just the loan transfer, like
I believe you forfeit your right to use FHA again. So I've used FHA multiple times. So it's like, why mess up a good thing? You know what I mean? Why take the risk? It's just a year. I mean, why even risk being able to lose that leverage, and why even risk it? It's just a year. That would go by quick. You could start once you're in your once you start your 1 year, start looking for your next property already, right? It takes time. And if you give yourself a year and start, stacking your money up, get some equity in your property, look to refinance, start looking for your next property, start learning your numbers more. It's like, why take the chance and risking messing up something that you can constantly use over and over, right? I've been able to get over $1 million in real estate by leveraging FHA. So I'm not going to do nothing to personally jeopardize that, even though that year sucks, but it's like, whatever, it's a year that'll go by before you even know it.
Agreed. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, I had one follow-up question to that. So you're saying you have to live in a property for 1 year using an FHA loan before.
So you can use FHA. You can use it. You can get up to a fourplex with FHA. So you can get a single family home, you can get a duplex, you can get a triplex, or you can get a fourplex. So if you get anything more than a single family home, if you get a duplex, you have to live in one side, you can rent out the other side. If you get a triplex, you have to live in one unit, you can rent out the other two. If you get a fourplex, you have to live in one unit, you can rent out the other three. And then once you get enough equity, you can refinance into a conventional loan or do whatever. That clears up your FHA for you to go out and get another property using FHA.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting.
Exactly.
Right.
So in my course, I talk about based on your area, FHA they have a ceiling and they have a bottom, right? How much you can get and all this different stuff. I'm telling you guys, like, don't do nothing to jeopardize these programs, but just use them to your advantage. So if you can get a fourplex and you don't have to stay in for 1 year, then, get a 2-bedroom, right? I always recommend people get units that have 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. That way, if you want to go do whatever you want to do and you don't really want to stay there, you can live in 1 unit and you can still rent out 1 unit, right? So you can rent out 1 unit and pretty much almost charge close to what the main rents are, or whatever a 1-bedroom, 1 bath is going for in that area. You can charge for that, and then you can do whatever you want. So you still have income coming in, right? You just got to get creative with it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. You guys are asking some good questions. Anybody got any other questions for me?
Yeah, I had a question for you. It sounds like you got multiple properties in out of state.
Yeah.
By chance, do you always look at them, or basically, do you put an offer in and not even look at them, but just run your numbers through like a calculation on Excel, and if it benefits you, you just put the offer in, and then you probably just get someone out to inspect it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So like I said, I have my numbers. My numbers work for, it doesn't matter where, right? It doesn't matter where in the United States. So I have my numbers for me and my situation and what I want, and I send them out to multiple real estate agents all over the country, and then they send me deals. And if it's something I like, I have them put in an offer. And if it's, for me, if it's a property that's 100,000 or more, I like to go look at it. If it's, you know, certain areas down south, Midwest, I get multiple properties for 20, 30, 40, 50,000 that I'm not even worried about going looking at them. If they have renters already in them, I'll just ask them to send me a couple pictures or have me do a virtual tour, and I'll go about that route. But if the property is 100,000 or more, I like to go kind of look at it just to put some eyes on it. So it's really up to you on how you want to do it. A lot of places now are doing virtual tours, but you can get everything done from, you know, you can be at home and tell them, hey, find a real estate agent, find an inspector. You can tell them, hey, put in this offer for me. The offer gets put in. They accept the offer. You go have the inspector go out. The inspector goes out. He finds some things that's wrong. You go back to the negotiating board. You tell the people, hey, either fix what's wrong or come down on the price. They either fix what's wrong or come down on the price. You close on it. They send a, you got to get papers notarized. So you know, find you a mobile notary, sign all your documentation, send it back to them, and boom, everything is done. You got that property in your name. Find the property manager, have them run it, tell them what you want, and then boom, there you go. So it's literally, I mean, it sounds very easy, and it's easy for me to say because I've been doing this, but it's really this easy.
I appreciate it, man. What's the most you put down for earnest money as far as on a property?
So 3,000. 3,000 is the put down. I typically like to put, there's been some that I've been able to get away putting $1 down. It just depends.
That's cool.
It just depends on the area, how hot the market is. So many things factor in. For the most part, I've typically only had to put 500 to 1,000 down. Bigger markets, you're going to look at that $3,000 to $5,000 range. But like I said, that's money that's going to help you anyway. So it really doesn't matter how much earnest money you got to put down for that. That's your money, you know, at the end of the day.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Do you ever use hard money lenders?
I have not. I almost was going to, but no, there hasn't been a moment where I've used any hard money lenders.
Okay, and what other states do you invest in?
Good question. I'm on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast, I'm down south, and I'm in the Midwest.
Okay.
I don't talk about what cities or states I'm invested in.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you have your own rental agreement, or did you just use the rental agreements from the property management? Or did they like charge you to add stuff?
No.
No.
I have my own rental agreement. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Rental agreements are typically just going to be about one page. If you have a property manager that has, you know, like a 10-page rental agreement, that would raise red flags to me. It's pretty cut and dry, you know, what property managers should be doing and pretty much what you want from them. Because you have to think about, you know, a property manager is not really doing a whole lot, right? Once you get your inspection, if you have a good person doing your inspection and everything is pretty good, you know, you got a pretty new roof, the water heaters aren't pretty old, the appliances are pretty up to date, you know, all the plumbing got handled, all the electricity, all your electric stuff is all wired properly and correctly. And this all comes from when you do your inspection. This is why it's important having a good inspector, because it's going to save you money in the long run, and then it's also going to save you a lot of issues coming up. You know, obviously there are going to be things that come up that you just can't control, but for the most part, my property managers don't do nothing but collect a check, and then they also deposit a check. So, you know, the agreements between you and the property manager shouldn't be very lengthy. You know, a couple pages at most, but if you're in these agreements that are 6, 7, 8 pages, that's more of the tenant agreements, right? Your tenant agreement should typically be about that long, but your agreement between you and your property manager shouldn't be so complex. it shouldn't be, you know, it's not a, it's not, they're not doing heart surgery or nothing like that. If that makes any sense.
It does.
Okay. You guys are asking some really good questions today too. All right, anybody got any last questions for the group? Like I said, no question is a stupid question. You guys can ask me whatever, and if it's something I don't know, I'll just tell you guys I don't know.
Hi, so I currently live in a duplex.
Uh-huh.
It's a conventional loan, so I'm renting out one side and living in the other.
Uh-huh.
And I was trying to buy a property in a different city, and the mortgage lender said I wouldn't qualify for an FHA, even though my loan is a conventional loan. So I'm just wondering, is this accurate or?
I personally have not heard of that. I literally have had 3 loans out at once. I've had a FHA, a conventional, and a VA loan, literally all out at the same time. So I would start reaching out to more lenders and just kind of see what they say. I personally haven't heard of that, and nor have I had that type of experience. And even right now, I got 3 different types of, I've always have 3 different types of loans out at any given moment, because I'm constantly using them, paying them down, and then reusing them again. So I've never heard, as long as every lender I've ever dealt with, you know, as long as my debt to income ratio was underneath that 50% mark, I've never had any issues. And then like, I'm able to show proof of funds. I'm able to show lease agreements. I'm able to show, you know, rents come in on a constant basis. So I personally have never heard that, nor have I ever been denied from having, you know, a conventional or trying to get a FHA or a VA or whatever.
Okay, perfect. So I should be able to qualify for an FHA, right?
Yeah, like I said, I've personally done it and have done it multiple times, and I've never had any backlash or even heard of a lender tell that I can't.
And that's 3% down?
What's that?
It's
FHA
3%.
3.5.
3.5.
Yeah, okay. Based on your credit and what the lender. So the FHA has their set requirement on what they require, and then lenders have their own requirement. So for instance, FHA might say, we'll give, you know, anyone that has a 580 credit score or better, but then the lender might say, we want people that have a 650 or better. So that's just based on your lender. So that's why I say reach out to multiple lenders, because every lender is different and has different requirements. Maybe that lender you called won't finance you because you have a conventional out, but the next lender you call might. So maybe it's just that specific lender.
Okay, perfect. And you teach this in your course?
What's that? Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I had one more question.
Sure.
When you are investing in other states, how do you go about building relationships with different real estate agents, property managers, and other types of maintenance staff when you're in a totally different time zone?
Phone calls go a very long way. Phone calls and transparency, right? That's why I constantly always say, be completely transparent. You have to, if you don't tell your real estate agent, if you don't tell because you have to think, even if you invest in your state and you reach out to a real estate agent, you don't know them, right? If it's not someone you've ever worked with, if it's not a lender you've ever used, you don't know them, they don't know you. So in-state and out-of-state is pretty much the same, because if you're going in-state and you're dealing with real estate agents that you don't know, it's the same for out-of-state, right? But the good thing about in-state is you can say, hey, let's meet up here and talk. So when you're dealing with people that are out-of-state, use, you know, the phone, use email, talk to them, tell them, hey, you know, I'm interested in investing in this area. I crossed your name. You know, I found you on here. What's your specialty? Do you specialize in VA? Do you specialize in FHA? Are you, what type of properties do you typically deal with? What price range do you typically deal with? How long have you been an agent? Things like that, just to kind of break the ice. And then, if you do ever travel to that state, then, you can meet up. You guys can maybe go grab coffee, go lunch, whatever it is. So it's like, use the phone, call people, talk to people, tell people what it is that you're trying to do. Tell them, hey, I'm looking to build my real estate portfolio. I know this real estate in this area is at a pretty good price right now. And, I crossed you and looking to do business. So let's try this out. If it goes well, then let's continue this relationship. Sometimes you might work with people and you just might not like something they do. So, you might close a deal one time with them, but then you might keep, reaching out to other agents because you might just connect better with other agents versus some.
Okay. One follow-up question.
Yeah.
Also, when you're researching opportunities, what do you typically use? Like, use Zillow or some other type of researching tool?
You said when I'm researching opportunities,
Yeah,
like
when you're looking for
what do you
deals,
mean by that?
what do you typically use
For what?
when you're looking for deals? Do you ever use Zillow or do you just strictly use real estate?
So I like to use Zillow just to get in contact with agents. So if I'm investing in out of state, if I use Zillow, I'll just kind of see what's going on in the area. Zillow is kind of trash. It's a good resource tool. It's a good starting point. It's a good, they have for you to see numbers, to run comparables. They have different calculators in there for you to get a good idea of what, your monthly payments will be. And then they also have a lot of real estate agents. So I just kind of use Zillow as more of a tool to kind of get information, not necessarily get properties. So once you reach out to these agents, they'll add you to their MLS, and then they'll just constantly be sending you deals. So you'll tell them, hey, I'm looking for duplexes that are going for 150,000 that are turnkey, meaning that they don't need much maintenance requirement. And that's kind of what my parameters are. I'm looking to spend, this amount of money for this type of property. And then they'll put that into the MLS, and then they'll ask you for your email, and then they'll constantly be emailing you deals that fit within your parameters.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Hey, I had a quick question as well.
Sure.
I kind of just joined pretty late. I'm not sure if any if this question might have been asked now or prior to this meeting, or this Zoom call. But I am still a college student. I'm still in college, so I still have college loans. Do you know if by any chance that'll affect me if I'm looking to get in like an FHA loan or anything like that?
Honestly, I'm not too sure about the college debt. I don't know if that's looked at for your debt to income or not. I don't know. It's a good question. I've never even looked that up or ran into anyone that's had any issues with that. So I don't want to give you any wrong information. But so the cool thing that you can do is, so when you guys are calling out to these real estate agents and when you're calling out to lenders, they're not running your credit. They're not, lenders might run your credit if you want to use them. But as far as to you can tell them, hey, I know my credit score. I know what type of debts I have. I know what I know what my debt to income ratio is and things like that. And you could kind of send them those numbers, but be accurate with those numbers, because if you tell them, I spend $500 a month for, paying back this, that, and the third. And then when it comes down to them to actually do your numbers and they run everything and they see that that's not completely accurate, then it's just going to completely throw the numbers off. So you can get numbers and you can get information without you having to get your credit ran. So you can reach out to these lenders, say, hey, I found this property. It's 250,000. I'm thinking about using you guys to be my lender. This is what my credit score is. This is what my monthly incomes are. This is what my debt is. What are your guys' numbers? And then they'll run their numbers and they'll tell you, if everything is true to what you're saying to us, this is what, this is what we'll require for a down payment. This is what your mortgage, your insurance, and your taxes will look like. So you can get all these numbers without anybody running your credit.
Cool. Thank you so much, man.
No problem.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Another question. So this is like not me personally, but my aunt. I have an aunt that's like disabled, so she gets like SSI and that sort of thing. Also, I think she gets like she might get a part of my grandfather's like pension, something like that. I'm not exactly sure all the details, but do you think that would be enough to qualify for a FHA program
for her?
Mm-hmm.
Based on her age, there's different. They have different programs using the FHA. So if based on if she's a first-time home buyer, they have programs. I believe that if she's over 65, they have different programs for that. So pretty much all they're going to do is as long as her debt to income ratio is under, like I said, that some are 43%, but it ranges between 43 to 50%. your debt to income rate based on what lender you go through. They have different requirements. So as long as all her incomes that adds up and whatever debt she has, if what she has left over is enough for her to meet whatever that mortgage requirement is, there won't be no issues.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
No problem. But have her look into, there's a lot of programs, there's a lot of first time home buyer programs. And then for people that are, I believe, 65 and over, they have different programs as well.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right.
So you said you only use Zillow as a resource, not to, I basically just to figure out pricing and the areas, rent and everything like that. What other resources would you use to actually buy? It was probably answered in a previous Zoom call.
So all my real estate agents, I tell them I like off-market deals. So depending on how much of a dog your agent is. So some agents aren't that much, some agents really, some real estate agents are only part-time. Some agents do it full-time. So I have agents that I worked with that are part-time. I have agents that I work with that are full-time. The agents that are part-time, are more aggressive than some of the agents I worked with that do it full-time, and vice versa. So it's like, this is why I tell people to reach out. You don't have to just have one real estate. You don't owe any agent or any lender any type of loyalty, right? So it's like, you can have 10, 15 different agents. You can have 10, 15 different lenders, right? So it's like, the more agents you have, the more deals that are going to be coming into you. Some agents are on it more than others. So some agents, they have, different connections. They know different people, so they get deals. Sometimes they might get deals from someone that they might have did a deal with, and something might happen. They might tell them, hey, do you have any buyers? I'm getting ready to sell this house. So that's why when you tell your agents what your parameters are and what you're looking for, that's how they're able to send you those off-market deals before they hit Zillow, before they hit, Trilla or whatever.
That was great. Thank you.
No problem. All right, I'll take one more question if anybody has one, and let's get ready to wrap this up.
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
We have you were talking about first-time homebuyer programs.
Yeah.
What other programs are there?
First time, it just depends on if you're in like a rural area. It depends on if, you find a property that's distressed and you want to use FHA to do a fresh build. There's multiple programs out there for people. You just have to look. One, you have to do research and look. You have to talk to, find real estate agents and ask them. That's why I said, tell them what you're looking to do. And then they should know these different programs that are out there.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Does someone else have one more question before we got out of here?
Yeah, I had a question.
Go ahead.
Let's say I'm looking to buy a home in the next few months. I know this is a bit of an open-ended question, but where should I park that money? Is it better to park it in, like a index fund or I'm just trying to avoid using a savings account.
Yeah. It's hard. I don't really necessarily want to say put it here or put it there. I can tell you what I personally do if you care to hear that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so what I do with most of my money that I'm looking to, if I know I'm gonna, get into real estate, or if I'm looking to do some business ventures or whatever, I typically will put my money into, a low risk ETF. And I talk about this all the time. One of my favorite ETFs is VOO, but that's personally what I do. Everyone does different things, but I highly recommend people don't keep it in a savings account, because, you say 3 months down the road, you want to do this, but what if something comes up and, maybe that 3 months might turn into a year or whatever. So it's like keeping that money in the savings account isn't doing nothing for you, versus if you were to put it in a low risk ETF, you could at least get 5%, 6% back as you're waiting on, you know, whatever to happen for your deal. But you really just have to put, you know, if you want to put your money in a savings account, that's fine. If you want to put it in an ETF or put it in the market or whatever, you just have to do what's best for you. Just know that, you know, ETFs can go down, right? So even the safe ones can go down. So you find one that has a solid 60-year track record, and then, you know, kind of use that to your advantage if that's what you want to do.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. All right, you guys. So we covered a lot. We've been moving, so you know, we've covered enough up until this point for you guys to get out there and start putting in some offers, start getting into some deals, right? So it doesn't matter if you watch every one of these classes, if you've attended every one of these classes, it won't do you no good until you get out there and get your feet wet. So I know it's a scary road. It can be scary, but everything that I've taught in this class has led me up to where I'm at now. And I've had a very successful real estate journey. I recommend real estate to everybody I know. You guys got something that I didn't have, right? I didn't have these classes to kind of walk me through someone's experiences, because everything I've talked about has been basically all my experiences, and it's worked, right? I've had a very successful real estate career. I don't have anything negative to say about real estate. And, you know, when you go read all these different blogs and hear these different stories, people will tell you different horror stories and things like that. But I promise you, if you guys follow this stuff that I'm talking about, being involved, taking calculated risks, getting all your numbers, reaching out to different real estate agents, reaching out to different lenders, driving around the area to see if it's a good area, or if you can't drive around, it's going to be a different state. Get on Google Maps, look on Google Maps, you know, use that stuff to your advantage. There's so many different tools out there. There's so much to help you get into real estate. They have all these different programs. You know, if you're in the military, you can go to the VA where you don't have to put any money down. FHA only requires 3.5 down. Even some conventional, they'll let you put 3% down now. So it's like, you got all these tools. Rates are still pretty low. Like I said, they're starting to increase. Properties are flying. So nothing is going to happen unless you get out there and start, you know, reaching out. By now, I would hope every one of you has at least reached out to a couple real estate agents, reached out to a couple lenders. I hope you guys figured out how much property you actually can afford. And I hope you guys have been looking to see and doing more research, right? You're gonna have to do, this isn't a one-stop shop, right? You can't just take these classes and then just, you know, magically, a property is just gonna magically, you know, fall in your lap. So it's like, you gotta constantly, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm still, you know, learning stuff. I'm still in deals. I'm currently, like I told you guys in the beginning, I'm putting offers on 2 places. So it's like, it never stops. You gotta, once you get this ball going, don't take any breaks. Keep it rolling, because this is going to be something that you guys are going to be able to pass on. You know, if you have, you know, family, if you plan on having kids or whatever, you're going to keep this legacy going. This is what we need to do, right? A lot of people are blessed enough to have stuff passed down to them. Unfortunately, I don't know if any of you are like me out there. I didn't have anyone to pass down any properties to me. I didn't have anyone to be able to hold my hand and walk me through my first deal. I had to just do it. That's why it took me an entire year, because I didn't have this. I was nervous. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a big responsibility to take on that much money. But if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have started sooner, right? So I hope you guys are really learning a lot from this. Like I said, this is no BS. I take this serious. I know you guys all pay a monthly subscription. So I make sure I try to give you guys as much information as I can. I want you guys to reach out. I try to answer questions when you guys hit me up, things like that. This is very serious business. This is life-changing business. And this is what we want, right? This is the whole part of Wealth Squad, is to all of us to grow together. And there's going to be things that I don't know. There was a class that I gave where one of the guys, there was some information I didn't know, and he was a lender, and he hopped in and gave information, right? This is the whole, I don't want to be the person that knows it all. I don't feel like I know it all. I never portray myself to feel like I know it all, right? I'm always open to hear different ways. I'm always open to hear your guys' experiences, because once you guys start doing this and you guys get out there, you guys can be like, damn, you know, I got a little bit different experience than Ace. I hope you guys hit me up and reach out to me. Like, when you guys do start to do deals and you guys do it, please share that with me. Or if you heard me talk about something, and if you know a better way or a more creative way, please send it to me. Share it with me. Like I said, we're all growing together. This is a community. We all want the same goal, and we all want to, be on top, right? We want to be comfortable financially. We want our families to be comfortable financially. We want to be able to pass our legacy on to generations after us, right? So you guys are all taking the right step. The next right step would be taking all this information and putting it to use, because you attend these classes, taking your time, spending your money, it does you no good if you're not really out there putting it all to use. So I appreciate all of your guys' time. Like I said, I really enjoyed doing this because I wish there was something like this when I was starting real estate, and especially for the price, you can't beat it. You really can't. So like I said, if you guys ever want to hit me up, you guys can hit me up on my social media. I appreciate your guys' time. I appreciate your guys' questions. I appreciate the positivity and everything that's going on with this. And let's continue this. And you guys have a blessed day.
Thank you, sir.
All right, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.